welcome to the Lead Champ Pro weekly call. If you are watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notified every single time one of our videos comes out. You want to make sure that you are seeing this stuff right away because, guys, we have some amazing value for you every single week. If you've been here the last few weeks, getting to learn from Josh and Jamie and how they're implementing all of the new tools and systems with our dialer, how they're using the new beneficiary button inside of Lead Champ to get way more free appointments, to sell more insurance without paying for more leads. It has been absolutely incredible. So if you haven't seen those yet, make sure you check those out on our YouTube channel after you get done watching this. And if you would like to watch it live, if you want to be here for the recording every single Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on leadchamplive.dials.com, you can join us live and be here for the recording and see it first. So feel free to join us on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock Eastern, leadchamplive.dials.com. Okay, now today we are going to talk about something that I think is probably very important for everyone watching this. It's not about how to make more sales. Instead, it's about how to make more money. And at the end of the day, the reason anyone on here is selling insurance, like, number one, you care about your clients, you want to help people, but the reason you do any job is to make money, right? To make a profit, to actually pay for your lifestyle, pay for your, your family's goals, dreams, and desires, whatever you want to accomplish. And unfortunately, and maybe fortunately today, because we can make adjustments, but unfortunately, there are many people that you would call top producers that sell $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year worth of insurance that are effectively broke right now today, or are not making nearly as much money as you would think because of some of these things. And a little bit of a clickbait title. We said this is the top 5 most costly mistakes agents make. The truth is there's probably like 20 or 30 hugely costly mistakes that you could make, maybe even 100. And so are these the top 5? I'm not sure, but these are 5 of the top ones that we, with our vantage point here at Lead Champ Pro, working with hundreds of agents from different IMOs, different brokerages, different carriers, working all different types of leads, right? With all different strategies, the common denominators among all of those people, where we see people winning and where we see people losing. And we want to bring that value and that data back to y'all. So if you're taking notes, the first one on here, I think, is the most costly, the biggest mistake. I think this is the thing that costs people the most money in the long run, not just in their agency, but in their life maybe. And that is not making decisions based on data, okay? Not making decisions based on data. Now, there's a breakdown to this because there's levels of success and failure in everything, okay? Some of y'all on here, I know this for a fact because I've met with, in fact, I've probably met with everyone on here at least once, maybe some people that are agents that don't, that maybe they got Lead Champ before I came on board. Okay, maybe I haven't met with you, but 99 out of 100 times when I meet with somebody on Zoom, they cannot show me any data about their own business. 99 times out of 100, they can't show me any data about their business. Now, do they have it somewhere? Maybe, but is it organized in a place where they can actually bring it out to make a decision? 99 times out of 100, it's not, they don't have it. Okay. So I want you to think about that for a second, because there's many different books, like success books that have been written. There have been many different one-liners. Like, you guys have heard all of, like, what gets tracked gets done. You guys know there's been scientific studies that have been done that show that if you just weigh yourself every day and you adjust nothing else about your lifestyle or diet, you will either lose or gain weight, depending on which one you're trying to do. Just by tracking your weight, you are guaranteed more progress towards your goal. What gets tracked gets done. Okay. Now, this applies in many different places in your business, but I just want to give you a couple that are dangerously bad decisions that agents make on a daily basis that cost them tens of thousands of dollars because they don't have the right data. Here's one of them. Which leads are you going to buy? Okay. If you're a top agent, even if you're a new agent, your biggest expense in the year, every year, no matter what, is always going to be what? Taxes, not leads. You thought it was going to be leads. It's taxes. Your second biggest expense, though, is going to be leads. And so if you're going to spend the majority of your money on your taxes, and then the next biggest portion of your money is going to get spent on your leads, wouldn't it behoove you to have a system to track the money? Like, you guys know that the better you track your finances, the more you can write off on your taxes, the more that you can, like, the better you organize that, the more you can actually save from that biggest expense you pay every year, But on your leads, Wow. Okay. Do I experience some scary situations with people? We go look into their Lead Champ Pro account, and maybe they've run 1,000 leads through the system. And they will tell us, people, this is what people do instead, by the way. This is the big mistake. You make decisions based on feelings. If you ever find yourself saying this, like, I feel like no one's answering, I feel like, everyone's buying, I feel like, if you feel anything, don't decide based on a feeling. Okay. You need to go and get data. And so we see people all the time, they've got thousands of leads that come through the system and they feel like they have a good lead vendor, or maybe they have a good relationship with their lead vendor and they like them personally. So they feel good about it. But when we look at the actual metrics that matter, okay, like the response rate of the leads, like how many out of 1,000 actually messaged us back? And in this case, by the way, this is a real person we looked at. Only 4.8% of their leads had messaged back. Now that means out of 1,000 leads that they had run through the system, 48, only 48 had messaged them back. Now, through dialing them, they had been able to total get in touch with like 112. So some number more, like let's say I think that was around 11% total response rate, including texting and calls. Okay, so think about that. Do you even know if that's a good number or not? That's what knowing the data helps you to know. Like that could be very competitive for all you know, right? Well, it depends on a couple things. Is that an aged lead? Is that a brand new lead? Right? What type of lead is it? How was it produced? Well, in this case, okay, let me give you some space to compare. These were brand new leads that they were getting in real time. And just to compare that with Lead Champ leads, okay, and if you're looking for someone to run ads for you, we do run ads for some of our users for IUL leads only right now. But if you are looking for that, hit us up, because our average response rate, okay, across phone and text with those new leads is more like 40%. Okay, so you look at someone, they've got 11% and you compare it to 40% and you're going, okay, something's wrong here. But if you don't know that data, okay, if you don't know that data, you can't make a good decision. In fact, no matter what decision you make, it's going to be wrong, right? And in this case, our leads are outperforming that lead vendor by 4x, at least in that category. But hold on, what's another piece of data you should pay attention to? Not just your response rate. Here's something even more important. You guys know what CPL stands for, right? Cost per lead. Okay, but cost per lead is sort of a trap or a trick metric. With KPIs, with key performance indicators, you want to find the metrics that actually matter for your success. Okay, and CPL actually doesn't matter for your success. In fact, you would be willing to pay any amount for a lead if you know it's going to convert into a profitable sale. So the price of the lead doesn't matter. Here's what matters more: your cost per appointment and your cost for acquiring a new customer, your CAC. Okay. If any of you all do not follow Alex Hormozi, make sure you start following Alex Hormozi right away. He's probably the greatest living marketer alive. He just did a book launch, okay, that sold over $100 million worth of books on his book series called $100 Million Offers. What's the newest one? Money Models, $100 million Money Models. Well, here's his philosophy on this, right? Pay attention to your cost to acquire customer. This is one of his most frequently talked about KPIs. So what does that mean? Let's say you bought 100 leads for the week and you sold 5 policies, okay? And just for easy math, let's say those leads cost, or in fact, let's not even do that. Let's just say that that's $100 worth of leads. You spent $100 worth of leads and you made 5 sales. That means your cost to acquire a customer is $20. So you just divide the amount that you spent into the number of customers that you acquired. But that number helps you make actually a good decision on your leads, because here's what's really cool. If you found a lead vendor where, let's say, you were paying twice as much per lead, but your cost to acquire a customer goes down, meaning more people are responding, more people are showing up, more people are buying. Well, that means you could work less and be more profitable. Pretty good deal. I think most people on here would say, like, hey, between the two options, if I said, hey, you could go out and this year you could grind your butt off, you could work 24/7, 365, and you could sell $1 million on your own pin, but at the end of the year, you have $100,000 in your bank account. Or you could go out and work extremely hard, but maybe more efficiently, and go sell $250,000, and at the end of the year have $200,000 in the bank. I mean, everyone would choose to sell less and have more in their pocket, of course. Like, the goal is to make money, not to have a bigger number on the page. But if you aren't tracking, Your data, you have no idea if you're making these good decisions or not. In fact, probably the scariest number that most people don't know on here is their profitability. They don't know if they're actually making a profit or losing money on a regular basis, which I'm gonna go ahead and transition into, number two biggest mistakes agents make here. Number one is making decisions without data, and there's three levels of that, by the way. There's no data, then there's the wrong data, and then there's inaccurate data. So if you're using LeadChamp right now, okay, and I'm good if you are, but if you're not dispositioning every time, your data's not going to be accurate. If you don't like going and pushing the button that says they showed up to the appointment, but I wasn't able to sell it because that hurts your ego, well, it's also going to hurt your data sheet, and your show rate is not going to be correct, and you're not going to make the best decisions you could. So you have to make sure you track the data, you track the right data, and you track it accurately. People say slow down to speed up. However you have to mentally wrap yourself around it. If you don't do this and you keep making poor decisions, you're going to keep losing money. Or if you keep making decisions without data, you'll never know if you're making a good one or not. But that transitions me into the biggest mistake, or most costly mistake, number two, that agents make, which is not separating their business and personal finances soon enough. This is a huge mistake I see people make. Guys, this, I'm from my heart, this matters to me. I don't want to see y'all get hurt. I want to see y'all make millions of dollars and be massively successful. If you are a newer agent, especially, listen to me, please. When you look at your bank account, if you see tens of thousands of dollars in there, you will start spending money differently on your personal expenses. Your cost of living will slowly go up accidentally without you knowing it. You'll start ordering more DoorDash. You'll start paying for more food out. You'll start getting guac at Chipotle, even though it costs $5, right? And you won't, and I see you laughing, but this is a true thing. And this is even level two of this mistake. If you start to justify personal expenses with business reasons, you are destined to be bankrupt. Okay, if you start telling yourself it's okay for me to spend double on lunch to get it delivered because I'm gonna work harder during it, you know what I mean? That little justification right there is gonna slowly just throw you off a cliff. And I see it happen all the time. And then what happens to your business? Well, you go out and spend an extra $1,000 on accident. You have a good month. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go shopping. You buy some extra clothes. You see the money in your account, so you spend it. And then what? You have a chargeback. And you have to go buy leads. And now you can't because your business money got spent on personal expenses. Well, this also costs you a lot on your taxes. Because if you take the time, okay, to set it up to where you have a business entity that is paying you a reasonable salary as the IRS requires, and then you write off all of your business expenses, you will save so much money on your taxes versus if you just let all that money come in to your social security number and then just wait and see, right? That decision is going to cost you so much money. It could bankrupt your business. In fact, I've seen some agents that have done millions in sales, millions on their personal pen, that are now bankrupt, out of the business, in vectors, their credit's ruined. And it's because they took their foot off the gas for a short amount of time, or because they decided to raise their lifestyle up to match their perceived new income when that was really business revenue and it wasn't actual personal income. So taking the time to separate out your personal and your business expenses and finances will save you so much money. Do not be that person that's saying, I don't have time to do that. I'm a top producer. Yeah, you're a top producing loser. You know what I mean? In fact, if you're a top producer that doesn't profit a lot of money, I'll tell you what you are. You're a top producer for your IMO or for your upline, okay, but not for your family, right? If you go out and sell $1 million a year but profit nothing, all you're doing is helping out whoever the big agency owner is, right? Whoever's at the top. But if you go out and get efficient and precise with your business, treat it like a real company, and take the time to be efficient and not just fast, you will actually profit more. Okay, that's what we want to see here at LeadChamp. We're not just trying to help you guys make more sales. We want to see you put more money in your pocket. By the way, if you're like, hey, how can I possibly start tracking my data? And you're watching this right now, get LeadChamp Pro right away. Get our dialer right away. In fact, let me go into number three here. Number three, not investing enough in their staff and their agents. Okay, this is the biggest, especially if you have someone that you call a dialer. I call them staff. Okay, dialer. We have a dialer. That's a software. Okay, you have staff that dials for you, right? So if you have staff that works for you, this is a human being. Okay, first off, keep that in mind, that you want to see do well. You want to have them thrive and succeed with you. You want them to be happy with you. But even more important than all of those things, as much as it sucks, they need to be profitable for you. right? If they aren't, okay, if one of your employees isn't generating you a profit, guess what's going to happen to their job? It's going to be gone sooner or later. Either that or you're going to be giving them charity because you're going to be losing money to keep them around because you feel bad. So you have to do the due diligence and take the time to help your staff be good enough to make you a profit so that they can have a job, so that they can have success, and so that your business can thrive. And I see it every single day. People hire staff and they go, okay, hire, done. And then they're just waiting for appointments to come in. Well, Josh doesn't spend that much time training his staff. The way he talks about it, you think like, okay, he spends like hours each week doing it. We're talking like maybe an hour a week that he's got set aside to meet with them, go through some of their calls, help them to improve, and talk about like, even more important than that, maybe, is like give them accountability to whatever they're required to do. And if you don't have a way to track your staff to give them real accountability, you're letting them down and you're letting your business down. Our dialer, okay, leadchampconnect.com, is a fantastic way for you to be able to see all of the data behind what your staff is doing so you know where they're performing well, where they're not, where they need help, and eventually, where to promote and where to fire, right? Like, who do you elevate and who do you replace? And if you don't know, right, like, this, like, Josh actually has two staff members that dial for him. And for a long time, I think he was tracking their data sort of together. And recently with the dialer, now they each have their own login. He can track how long they're dialing, how long they're on the phone, their average call time. He can go back and listen to the calls. He can see the ratios. And one of his staff members is greatly outperforming compared to the other. In fact, it's like the 80-20 rule in real life. Like 1% is done by one staff member and 99 by the other. Well, that's really helpful information because now he's able to double down with the person that's not performing well and either help them to step up or, maybe he ultimately has to replace them with someone else. But if you don't know that's going on, you might spend months spending money on staff that are not making you a profit, right? Or, right, with your agents, people who are out there recruiting, bringing on new agents, you are taking on a big risk, right? Now there's a massive opportunity, right, to build a big agency and to make a lot of money, but you also have a liability by bringing that agent on. Well, I think you should try and recruit and build a giant agency. That's my opinion. But I think if you're going to do it, it's like getting a pet. Like each pet that you get, okay, you have to feed them and take care of them. You can't go, mommy, I want a new dog. It's like, well, hold on, I'm taking care of your old dog. Maybe if you could take care of one dog, right, you could have a new one. Well, everyone's like, wow, I wish I had more agents. Yeah, well, how often do you actually take the time to go through your agent's data with them, give them positive accountability, right? Help them solve their problems and improve. And by the way, protect yourself by making sure that you're keeping track of where they are. Like if you have agents that you've just brought on and for months you haven't spoken to them, you don't know what they're doing, I'll tell you what they're doing. They're writing business that's going to charge back to you. Now, if they were every day on live dials with you and you're keeping track with them and you're holding them accountable every week and you're helping them grow their numbers and improve themselves, well, now they're not just going to do better in the business, but they're also going to, over time, be more and more loyal and thankful for you for the value you've provided to them, right? If you're tired of people leaving on you in business, here's how you get less people to leave on you. Talk to them, right? Just like with our retention program, why do so many people keep their insurance? Because they're on, in the lead champ pipeline. It's like, well, because they're getting a birthday card, they're getting a birthday message, they're getting a Christmas card, they're getting a New Year's card. We're staying in contact with them. If you're not staying in contact, right, with your staff and your agents, if you're not treating it like a business and once again, accountability, I have this written down. Accountability is an investment of time and attention that provides massive value. It's not like you hurting them. It's not like you punishing them. For me in my life, okay, I can admit this. I hope all of y'all can admit this as well. The more accountability that I have, the better I do. Always. Public accountability is the best. I have this thing where I personally believe that people that don't put their shopping cart up, like they just suck. Like if you just can't handle like doing the small things that make society function, like you just suck. Like it's even worse in some ways than even more malicious things to me. But because I'm outspoken about this, I'll tell you what I never can do. I could never do is leave my shopping cart. I see sometimes I'm like 5 rows away and I'm like, oh, I would love to just leave it, but I got to walk it back because I've been outspoken about that. There's like some public accountability. My friends would absolutely destroy me for giving them a hard time about it, right? If I didn't. Now that's a small thing. That's not like major accountability. Let me tell you about some major accountability. Okay. You want to go out and lose 100 pounds. You want to make an extra $100,000. You want to make a dramatic change in your life. You want to move to a new area. You want to grow a giant agency. Well, you've probably wanted to do stuff like that your entire life and you haven't done it yet. But you know what would make a difference? If someone you respected or cared about took the time to ask you, like one of my best friends, super successful gentleman. He's a restaurateur. He owns a bunch of restaurants. For a while, he was consulting for Chick-fil-A, and I got tons of free Chick-fil-A. It was amazing. I'm still a fan of Chick-fil-A. And, he will call me up. And one of the reasons I consider him to be one of my best friends is because he'll call me up and he'll say, hey, just a little accountability for you. What kind of goals are you working on right now? And what's your progress looking like? Don't lie to me. And that, like that right there, just 30 seconds of someone I really care about asking me, putting me on the spot, right? All of a sudden, I'm moving in the right direction in my life. I don't know if that, resonates with any of y'all. Like if you have someone looking over your shoulder that you care about, all of a sudden you want to do a little bit better. If you're on camera, you act a little bit differently. If you know you're going out in public, you straighten up your hair a little bit more than you do when you stay at your house. And so accountability is valuable to all of us. The more accountability you can create for yourself and your business, the better. But especially for the people that are counting on you as a leader, if you aren't providing them that accountability, you're just letting them down. And you're setting up a super resentful situation, like especially with a staff member. Let's say you let them go 3 or 4 months of bad performance without doing something. Then it's going to be like you're going to fire them out of nowhere. They're going to be upset that they never got a chance to improve. They never got a chance to change. You are getting more and more upset at them over time. They don't even know. It's going to cause a huge blow up versus taking the time, and it's tough effort to have that conversation now and start working towards improving. But that, like, once again, I see tons of agents, and there's a theme to a lot of these. All of these are themed around the same thing. People are trying to do too much and they're not being productive enough. They're taking tons of action, but they're not being productive. They're not slowing down enough to build a system to track their data one time. Like if you just get a system for yourself one time, by the way, if you want one that's easy, get Lead Champ leads. Every time you disposition your sales inside a Lead Champ, it's going to report back to a data sheet. We're going to present all that data to you, right? We'll track it for you. Okay. So, but just taking the time to get that system in place so that then every day as you're moving fast, your business is actually productive, right? Taking the time once to separate your business and personal finances so that then you can go run, and every time it's a personal expense, use your personal card. And every time it's a business expense, use your business card, right? And at the end of the day, at the end of the year, you're not going to spend an extra $50,000 on taxes you weren't expecting because you planned for it ahead of time, right? That's the theme of all these things. Which, by the way, number 4, okay, this is number 4 on the list, not properly planning for taxes. It's its own category. This is probably the number 1 way agents bankrupt themselves, put themselves out of business, especially new agents, or make sure that they aren't profitable. They don't, like, every single time you get income, you should be setting aside a percentage of that for your taxes in an account that you can't see. Okay. Why? Because then when you get to the point where you have to go and pay them, if you did a good job on your accounting, maybe you pay all of them and have money left over in that account, right? And then it becomes a vacation account or a savings account or rolls over to your next year's taxes. But if you don't set aside that money, inevitably you'll look in your account, whether it's your personal account or your business account, and you'll see there's a few $1,000s in there, and you'll go, I need leads, and you'll buy leads. Or you'll need to pay rent, and you'll pay rent. You'll spend the money. So unless you set aside that money for taxes, you will end up costing yourself in the back end. And there's no point in working as hard as y'all do. Like I see some of you guys talking about how the dialer is amazing because you can use it on your phone. Because Dylan Priest is in line at the grocery store dialing leads on his phone. That's crazy work. Like that's crazy work ethic. I know a lot of y'all are like that. There's no reason to grind yourself like that and end up with no money. Take a few minutes and set up a plan for your taxes, for your business finances, for your data tracking, for your staff, and for your agents, so that when you're going fast, you can be making the right decisions, doing the right thing. Okay. And then number 5 on here, as far as the top 5 most costly mistakes that agents make, this one sort of ties all of the other 4 together, which is not taking time to set up systems now that will work for you forever. That's the number 1 most costly mistake agents make. They tell me all the time on the phone, like, oh, I'm a top producer, I don't have time. Okay, cool. You know who's never told me that? Grady Polson. He's definitely a lot richer than the top agents out here. Okay. Like, you know who's never told me they don't have time to set up a system or to build out, like to do it the right way? Josh Lockhart. He's like, it's gonna be annoying, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it right. We're gonna do it so that it works well. We're not just gonna go. But you know who always tells me they don't have time? All of y'all. Okay. And I'm not trying to hurt you. I want to help you. But if you constantly use this as an excuse, and that's all it is, it's just an excuse to not like think and like take just a couple seconds, like to really make a good decision, to set up a system. Like, what's the system look like? Here's the system that will work well for anyone on here. Okay. Never hang up the phone with a client until you disposition the lead in LeadChamp. This is beneficial for the sale. You're going to actually have a higher, retention rate just for doing that, because the person isn't getting off the phone until they have something in their hand. You've gotten their social security number, their bank account info. They've committed to paying monthly. You know what I mean? You've taken all their medical history and they have nothing. But if you just stay on the line for 30 more seconds and disposition the lead, now they've got that email and that text in their hands with their policy info, with the carrier on it, right? With your phone number, with their why, and it's ready to go. It's right there. Well, what does that also do? That system of never getting off the call until you disposition guarantees that all of your client retention is going on, right? And we have some people still, I know it sounds crazy, that are spending $500, $600, $700 a month with us. They've got hundreds of leads coming through and they aren't hitting the what happened button and putting them in the client retention campaign, which means those people aren't getting thank you cards, which means they're not getting the monthly payment reminders, which means they're not getting a birthday card or a Christmas card. They're not getting the annual review notice. If for some reason their payment cancels and you haven't already dispositioned them, you can't go in and hit the missed payment button. It's not going to work because they're not a client yet. And so all of those problems happen because you don't have a system for it. It doesn't take a lot of time. In fact, if you get good at doing it at that same time, every time in that call, it'll actually end up saving you time because all your organization is done. Like, you can literally go on to the next sale without thinking about it. All of their data saved, your files are straight, they're getting a thank you card, they're in your system, like, it's done for an extra 30 seconds. So what's the system though? In this case, it's a system that you have to follow. It's a habit that you have to create. And if you struggle with that, I get it. I've been constantly trying to improve and change my life every minute since I found out that was an option. Like, at some point when you're a kid, you think everything happens to you. And then, eventually you realize, or someone tells you, hey, you're in control of your own destiny. Well, ever since then, I've been trying to improve myself. And if I want to develop a new habit, sometimes it is very, very difficult. Sometimes you have to really force yourself. Sometimes you have to create incentives for yourself, or gamify it, or get a system for accountability. Like, if I was Jamie on here, what I would do is I would make a bet with Elise on who can have the highest, rate of dispositioning their leads every month. And both of them should hit 100 every month because neither one wants to lose to the other, right? Like, get yourself an accountability system where you can't lose. And then here's the cool part. If you can force yourself to do it for 30 or 40 days, it will become a habit that you can't stop, right? It will become a habit that you can't stop. I lost over 100 pounds at one point a few years back. And for years, I was trying to get that to happen. It was absolutely one of the most difficult changes I ever made. But once I got a system that worked for me and stuck to it for more than 60 days, I've stuck to it since then. And now it's effortless. Now I stick to it automatically. So the effort is concentrated. When you're changing, the effort's concentrated up front. If you haven't ever gone and separated your personal and business expenses, if you haven't ever gone and created a system for tracking for yourself, or if you haven't ever spent time with your agents or with your staff, right? If you haven't ever done any of these things, it's going to be hard to start. But if you can get a system for yourself to force yourself to do it for 30 or 60 days, all of a sudden it'll be a habit for life. So is it worth it? I think it is, right? I think it is. Is it going to be easy? Of course not. Nothing that's worth a lot of money or success or happiness is going to be easy. But here's the good news. The grass isn't greener elsewhere. The grass is greener where you water it, right? And every single person on here, whether or not you're watching this live or recorded, whether you're happy with your business and you just want to go higher, or you're struggling and you want to get above water, these are some things that you can apply right now that 12 months from now could be the difference in tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars for you, right? If you're a top producer right now and you already sell 300,000 or 400,000 a year and you don't have a retention program like LeadChamp Pro, you need to get it today, because you're going to see a 10 or 15% increase in your retention using this. That could put $40,000 or $50,000 back in your pocket on the back end just by staying in contact with your clients, right? The small decisions, right? Small pivots make all the difference on the back end, right? In fact, there's I don't know if I have it up on my wall or not. There's a book called The Slight Edge. And there's also another one called The Compound Effect. Both of them are about the same thing. And I would recommend them to anyone. Talks about how a small, seemingly insignificant change on your day to day life can lead you down a totally different path. And it imagines this sort of hypothetical where there's three versions of you in three separate realities. And you just make a small change in each one. Otherwise, everything else is the same. And it's like in one of them, you start eating one extra donut a day. And that's it. But okay, one extra donut a day adds up. And in one, you do everything the same. And in one, you start taking an extra 10-minute walk every day with your spouse or significant other. And these sort of parallel universes start to diverge. And in the one where you spend 10 extra minutes walking every day with your spouse, your relationship's better, your health is better, you start having more confidence, you start making better decisions at work, you start getting more promotions. Like your life starts compounding in the direction that you're moving with those small differences versus the one donut a day. I mean, that's not that big of a difference, but over a few years, that's thousands of calories, right? That's more time, that's less time with your spouse, right? That's less time exercising. Then you start gaining weight, so now you're losing confidence, right? It literally compounds in the opposite direction. And so if you're at a point today where you're like, hey, I want to make a difference in my life, whether you're, feel like you're successful or you feel like you're failing, here's my recommendation. Don't think that any decision is too small to move and start moving in the right direction, right? You can draw a line in the sand today. You can say, hey, yesterday doesn't matter. What I was doing before doesn't matter. Make a new decision today, and your past doesn't determine your future. Everything from this point forward can be different. You might even fall a few times. You might start a new habit of tracking, and after 15 days, you fall off, right? But then you reset, you get back on. So for me, with the weight loss, it took me 10, 15, 20 times. I decided I was going to do it and then failed before I finally did, right? So you might not get it the first try, but don't do this. Don't feel right now like, oh my gosh, I'm letting hundreds of thousands of dollars slip through my fingers. I don't know if my leads are actually good. I don't know if my number's been burned. I don't know if my closing rate's good. I haven't been tracking any of my numbers. I have no idea how much I'm going to owe in taxes. I don't know if I've tracked my expenses well. Like if you're freaking out right now, I totally get it. But don't let it just be an emotional rush that you then do nothing about and you go back to living the same way. To know and not to do is not to know. Make a change right now. If that means getting on our dialer so you can track your staff, great. If that means getting our CRM so you actually have a retention model, great. If that means you have some questions for me, go to leadchamppro.com and click book a demo because I definitely want to talk to you about that, or leadchampconnect.com for the dialer. And then guys, my recommendation, if you are going to try and make one of these changes, tell someone about it. Maybe you don't have to post on Facebook, but like for me, my buddy Parker, that is that super successful gentleman I was talking about before, when he knows that I have a goal that I'm working on and he's going to check in on me, I work twice as hard. I'm not going to lose an advantage like that by not taking advantage of it. If you have a mentor, if you have an upline, an agency manager, someone you're working with, someone, or a parent figure or a mentor somewhere else in life that could help hold you accountable to getting this stuff done, go tell them about the changes you want to make and ask them to follow up with you on it. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. It's a lot of responsibility for someone to help you with like that. It really is. Like if someone asks you for accountability like that, you're helping them out. But if you do that, you have a much more likely chance of actually making the change. I know many of y'all I've spoken to, you tell me like, Nick, I want to do better, but I just forgot to disposition. I just move on to the next call. Like, hey, I get it. Make it a point, write it on a sticky note, put it in front of you. Hey, before you hang up the phone, push the what happened button, right? Before you hang up the phone, hit the add beneficiary button. Like don't go another appointment without pushing the beneficiary button and getting that free lead. Get a free lead off every sale you make, guaranteed. Push the beneficiary button, right? If you just make that one change, your cost per lead or your cost per appointment or customer might go way down because you have so many more free leads coming in, right? Referencing Alex Hormozi one more time, and then I'll close it out here. He has this phrase he talks about, and I don't even know if he came up with it. It's a generic one, but you've heard of a silver bullet, right? A silver bullet is the single cure, the cause, the solution to a problem. Well, in business, there's no silver bullet. Instead, you have to win by using 100 golden BBs. Every 1% difference that you can pull out of your business is a chance to win versus not. And keeping in mind, this business in particular, selling insurance, is heavily competitive. Everyone is trying to run ads to generate leads. Everyone's trying to buy the best leads. Everyone's trying to close sales. Everyone's trying to go and help someone who's already got coverage get different coverage through them, right? It's a heavily competitive market. And so if you aren't looking for every 1% difference that you can get, if you aren't trying to actively improve your process every single day, you're not just staying still, you're getting further and further behind every day. I mean, you really are. Like if you're still out there driving to in-homes, when you could be doing virtual sales, when all of the top producers now are doing virtual sales, you're costing yourself money. I know some of y'all love your system of that, but you're costing yourself money. You absolutely are. And so this, this is the time to go and apply these things. I promise y'all, coming from Lead Champ, we are going to continue to improve things everywhere that we can. We're always going to look for those 1% differences. We're going to keep making the system better, keep fine tuning it, keep using the data to make better and better decisions over time. So for those of you guys that have already been using us for a while, we so appreciate you guys using it. For those of you guys that aren't, engaged in the community, please get more engaged. Hit that what happened button, come into the Discord, share your success stories with us. Every time you hit the what happened button, by the way, it shouts out your sale in the Discord. Just so you guys know, every time you disposition a sale, it shouts you out in the Discord. So if you're not hitting that, or if you're not typing your stuff accurately, you're not getting all of the recognition that you could. So make sure that you do that. If you guys have questions for me, or if you want to meet with me to try and get your system running better, smoother, getting more out of Lead Champ Pro, feel free to book on my calendar, leadchamppro.com, click book a demo, books with me every single time. And we appreciate you guys opening up the newsletters. Appreciate you guys that are sharing the good news in the Discord. Appreciate you guys that keep referring people to us. Thank you so much. Once again, we will be back next Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern. And looking forward to meeting and helping all of you guys that need help getting your system going. Or if you're watching this recorded and you don't have Lead Champ Pro yet, or you want our leads, or you want our dialer, leadchamppro.com, book a demo. I'm excited to chat with you. All right. Thank you guys, and bye for now.